Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle video tutorial on how to create wonderful colourful lines like this very quickly in Photoshop. Sort of colourful background design. And of course you can do many more things than that. You can create layers with them and apply effects and much more. But initial start point. So we've got this design here. I'm just going to undo that. Don't want that. So I've got a white background, but what I need first is create the pattern for it. And here's what I'm going to be creating. So File and New. And you can create obviously any size. I'm just going to go with, but the key thing is transparent here. Background contents, go for transparent because don't want white or anything background. I want transparent. Then go over to the rectangle tool, go for shape option, and I'm going to go for a fill of grey. Now you could have a stroke as well set, perfectly reasonable, whatever you want. But I'm just going to go for a fairly thin line like that. Once you've done that, you can add effects as well. Just go to a layer and layer style, maybe some other effects as well. But drop shadow, just going to add it very quick. Drop shadow. There's the settings, you can see there, multiply, opacity, basic default settings for a shadow. So click OK. Now the key thing is go over here to a rectangular marquee tool because I don't want to use the entire document. Just want to use that very thin sliver. Got that design selected, then just go to Edit and Define Pattern. Give it a name if you want, line or something useful like that. And once you've done that, what you do, you can go back to, now this document can have any colour background, perfectly reasonable, and you can then fill it. What you can do, you can just go and you can create it on a layer. I always think layers work best, so a layer and layer new. So you can always remove it. If you create it on a background layer and then you decide later you've done some other work to it, then you've got problems. You can't get rid of it so easily. So with a layer, you see layers over there, you've got a new layer there, and window and layers, key thing there. Now, the actual command, edit and fill. So you've got pattern, that's in the contents. Go for the pattern you just created, which is that one, just selected there. And also make certain the script is on. I always double click that just to make certain it's actually set because sometimes it will run and it just will ignore it. Then go for random filters. Obviously, of course, a number of options there. And you've got other ones blending. I'm just going to keep them normal. Click OK. And then you see display. Now, it'd be brilliant if it actually generated exactly what it looks like there. It doesn't. But you can apply it a couple of times. Sadly, there is no repeat edit command, edit fill command. Why? I do not know, but there should be, but because I quite often apply it 3 or 4 times just to create this. So I've got density set to the max, minimum, make it very small, maximum, keep it around about 1, whatever. And then also rotate, as well as colour randomness I've set fairly up to the max. That's why I went for grey. So click OK and you can see the design. See, it doesn't match exactly what you have to preview. But of course you can always just go edit and fill. Click OK again, OK, and you can see now it does actually fill it up fairly quickly with that. Click OK, and you can see the design. You've got that nice random coloured background design. Of course, once you've done that, what you can do, you can always add some additional effects to it. You can always go to a layer menu, you can go new adjustment layer, maybe go for vibrance, hue, saturation, go for that, click OK. You can go maybe colorize. So you don't have to go with the super colourful, so you've got that lovely red design there. And of course what you can also do, you don't have to do that, I'm just going to remove that. You can also just duplicate this layer. So simply duplicate that design and then you can see of course you've got some edge there, but if you create enough of these, you can do it at different angles, apply effects. You can also of course go to filters, maybe distort and let's just move that there so it's in the center there. Or maybe use some edit and transform, maybe go for warp. You can also, of course, apply, you can see the design there, you can see distorting that design. So you can create all kinds of weird and wonderful shapes with that. Now, what you can also do is go to layer and turn it into a smart object before you do anything. If you want to do that, it's quite good as well. And then, of course, what you can do, you can hold down the Alt or Option key and you can duplicate that design to create a very intense line background like that. And you of course can change the angles and those sorts of things. And then of course once you're finished, layer, flatten image, and you've got a nice design there. But of course what you can do, you always go back to this other design, and I'm going to deselect that, and you can modify this design because you can warp that as well. So if you want transform path, you've got warp, and you can just warp that design so you can get a slightly different there. You can create all kinds of different variations of that line. It's still basically a line, and so on and so on. Click OK. And of course you can create maybe multiple lines. So you can have 2 or 3, hold down the Alt or Option key and duplicate the design. So you've got this design. You can also apply other effects, layer style, maybe Bevel Emboss. So you can have bevel there. And also you can apply effects. So you could go for liquefy. Photoshop just crashed. The liquefy tool seems to have developed a few faults of late. I've noticed a few times I've selected shapes and it goes. Maybe it's doing something, but it just certainly doesn't want to respond. It could be like 10 minutes and still not responding. However, you can still, of course, just go to Edit and Transform, which I've just done, and Warp. I'm just going to quickly warp it so you can see. You can just simply warp it. And I'm not going to go to the liquefy now. And you've got this design. And then, now, be very careful with this, because if you, with this shadow, sometimes once you've warped it, sometimes it goes a bit further than you think, and make certain you avoid sort of selecting, otherwise you'll end up getting sort of cut off with the shadow. So Edit and Define Pattern. And now you can go back to this, and now I can go to Edit and Fill. And again, if you want to, you can go always create a new layer. I always prefer layers. So you've got a layer there. Go to Edit and Fill, Pattern, select that pattern there, just one you just created, make certain the script is on, random fill, click OK. And then just use the same settings as before, and you can see you get this lovely, slightly curved random design as well, which I think is quite nice. And again, Edit and Fill to apply a couple of times, so you can just, of course you don't have to. If you don't want to, you've got this design. Obviously all the areas that you see behind that white is transparent. So what you can do, you can always go to layer style, and you can add a bevel emboss to that if you want to manipulate it further. Or of course you can always go to filters, avoiding liquefy, since that seems to be occasionally temperamental. You just go for twirl, whatever, and you can see the background there. Weirdly it doesn't show the background there, but it does in the course in the thing, and you've got that design there, and so on and so on. So you can create all kinds of lovely line backgrounds. Lines do not have to be straight. Obviously it's nice to have nice straight, and of course you can always create lines in different ways. So I'm just going to undo that and got that design. You don't have to have, of course, exactly like that. You can always create a very simple, I'm going to zoom in a bit so I can actually select it. Got this design. You can always go hold down the Alt or Option key. You can use the guides there. Hold down the Alt or Option key, and of course you can always change the colour. So if you want to, just go over to the rectangle tool, see the colour there, and grayscale. Let's go for a darker grey, and you can select that. Select that. Again, go down to the rectangle. Now you can also change these via the properties as well. Again, just go there. Go for a slightly different grey there as well. And once you've done that, of course, you can still go to the selection tool and rectangular marquee tool, I should say. Select all those and then go to Edit and Define Pattern. So you've got a slightly different line pattern than before. So again, remove that and then Edit and Fill. And select that design there. Got script on, make sure that's on, click OK. And you can see you can get a very, very different design. You can see it's sort of more like confetti kind of style. And again, you can still go to, if you want to, of course I could add it, apply it more times than that. Just go to hue and saturation here, or add an adjustment layer. Maybe go put it to black and white. Tweak that. So you can create all kinds of very abstract backgrounds with just straight lines, basically, lines. So that's this tutorial on that. Of course, you could also use lines as well. Oh, lines are a bit more temperamental at the moment with the way it's been done. They've obviously changed it so you can use it with shapes, but it's slightly odd. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Always add new tutorials about Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity Photo and many others. Also, please subscribe to Graphic Extras channel. Always adding near enough every day, new video. Also, please put some comments. Anything you think that's wrong, anything that's right. Always great to hear. Also, a dislike or like. Thank you much.